What's good, everybody? Welcome to another broadcast here for Fast Break here for IE Sports Radio. Your report in sports. D-Locke, we got Game 7 up in the D. Who do you like in tonight's matchup between the Pistons and Cavaliers?
It was a tough decision, but I think, in my opinion, the Cavs are loaded, man. You know, they made that trade for a reason. I think having Donovan Mitchell, James Harden, Mobley, and Jared Allen, I think they're going to go ahead and take this Game 7.
Ooh, okay. I'm going to go opposite to you. I think Detroit's going to pull this one out and make it to the Eastern Conference Finals for the first time in a long time. Right? The New York Knicks. But hey, you know, sure yourself will happen, but we'll see. But we'll discuss that game as it's going live right now on Amazon. So we'll be going to talk about this game on the top of the show after these few short messages. But this is Fast Break here, live for IE Sports Radio, your report sport, and we'll catch you on the other side.
IE Sports Radio fans, this show is brought to you by Planet Jerky Premium Brisket Beef Jerky. Planet Jerky is the official jerky of the 2022 California League champion Lake Elsinore Storm, Single A affiliate of the San Diego Padres. This all brisket jerky has gluten-free options, contains no MSG, no sodium nitrate, is low in sugar, and high in protein. Go to their website at planetjerky.net and follow them on Instagram at Planet Jerky. Planet Jerky, the jerky that's on a whole other planet.
For the last 10 years, IE Sports Radio has been bringing you amazing content ranging from interviewing legendary athletes, coaches, and other authorized media personnel to building tailor-made shows dedicated to all major sports cities around the country. Make sure to follow us at IE Sports Radio on X, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and YouTube to keep up with the latest in sports and with all of our shows. Also, make sure to check out our daily updated website at iesportsradio.com. At iesportsradio.com, you can see our daily show schedule and check out all of our show pages with personal bios to learn a little bit more about each of our awesome hosts. In addition to our show pages, you can catch the IE Sports Radio blog, Hall of Fame, Fans of the Month page, and our merchandise shop, including t-shirts, tank tops, caps, long sleeves, hoodies, and more. For now over a decade here at IE Sports Radio, we've continued to be by the fans, for the fans, and we thank you all for your support and for making IE Sports Radio your direct feed for all that is sports.
There we go. All right, welcome back in, ladies and gentlemen, to another broadcast here for Fast Break here for IE Sports Radio, your week forward sports. We're back in the full things. D-Locke, how you doing today, sir?
Pretty well. Excited to see where this game 7 goes. We've had a hell of a playoff season so far. We had some amazing games. A lot of good game 7s also. Then the Pistons were in one with Orlando, I believe. Cleveland was in one with Toronto. So these teams are fighting hard, man. So this is showing that the East is looking pretty good, even though the Knicks been on the break for a while. But this is a very good game that I see happening with, two great guards and Donovan Mitchell, James Harden. Then you got Cade Cunningham on the other side. I'm sure Thompson is definitely coming up and showing, what he can be. So I think this is going to be a hell of a game.
I think it'll be a hell of a game tonight. We'll discuss that here in a second. They're still doing the intros right now. They're doing the choice intro right now as we speak. But before we get hopping and rolling with that, if you're new to us and here at IE Sports Radio, do follow us on X and YouTube. That's our two main stations, X, YouTube. Subscribe to that YouTube channel. Hit the little red button, hit the little bell notification. So once we go live every Sunday for this show, that's around 7 o'clock, a little after, you get that notification. We'll be up here live discussing everything in the world of basketball. So like tonight's show, it'll be Game 7 heavy, talking about the Pistons and Cavaliers and whatnot. And then we're going to get D-Locke's thoughts on the NBA draft lottery, his thoughts on that. What should the Wizards do with that pick? A lot of stories coming out about that pick, the Utah Jazz, AJ DeMista. There's a lot of chatter going on right now with those two teams in him. A lot of talking, combine, all that stuff happened. Guys ain't taller than what they supposed to be. Looking at you, Amari Allen, 6'8". I can't believe that shit. But anyways, so a lot to discuss here tonight. All that good stuff. But subscribe to the YouTube channel. Follow us on X. And also follow our show's page right here at Fastbreak ISR on X as well. All right. So tonight we got Game 7. Win or go home between the Cavs, Pistons. The Pistons right now got done with the intros. Cade Cunningham got introduced last. They're up and rolling here in just a second. D-Locke, coming to Game 7. Who do you got winning tonight's game?
It was a tough decision because I think both of these teams are very much talented. They've shown us that over the season in the playoffs. But I think Jalen Duren has kind of been up and down in the playoffs. He's had maybe a couple good games between the Magic, playing against the Magic and the Cavs. Cade Cunningham has been Cade Cunningham. But I think Ashore Thompson has been playing, extremely well also. He's showing that he's been doing good. Another person that's been playing extremely well for Detroit. If he has a hell of a game tonight, watch out for them, is Tobias Harris. He's been having a hell of a playoff season as well. But I'm going to go with the Cleveland Cavaliers. I think this team has made the big trade that we talked about, going to get James Harden. You got Evan Mobley, Jared Allen, Donovan Mitchell. You go get some depth at the guard position. Keon Ellis, Dennis Schroeder. I haven't seen Keon Ellis that much this series, but I think if they move on, we'll see him more, especially playing against the Knicks. This team is loaded. the pressure is on, right? You got these big moves, and they've been talking about James Harden on his game sevens, how he disappears sometimes. I doubt that. I don't think that happens too much today. I think that the Cavs will be clicking. The last time they played in Detroit, they were able to close this game out. You know, um, so to me, as good as this game is gonna be, I just think that the Cavs have their guard position is gonna make a big difference. Right now, like I said, Jalen Duren hasn't been playing extremely well. He did recently have a double double, so that played a huge part that
Yeah.
last game. But obviously, them getting a chance to take it away at home. The Cavs kind of reminds me of the Orlando situation, but difference is you got Donovan Mitchell and James Harden on that team, along with Mobley and Allen. So um, I'm gonna take the Cavs in this game, a close one. I don't think it goes to overtime. I think this is probably a 5 point spread game. I think Donovan Mitchell shoots the skin off the ball today, and goes for 35 plus.
For me, I'm going Detroit. I don't know. There's something about them. They seem really resilient this year. Young group like this. I think. I think it's their. I don't think they win the championship this year, but I think they're getting there. Now, is it a good sign that this is like their second game 7 in the playoffs like this? Yeah, it's not a great sign for that. As we see Evan Mobley with the catching the alley-oop pass for Donovan Mitchell. So, but I think something about this team, they got him at home. I think they can pull it off. Like you mentioned about some of the role players, they got to step up.
Mm-hmm.
As we see, what's that dude's name? He's in the
Dennis
line.
Jenkins.
Dennis Jenkins hit a 3-pointer for Detroit. So, and oh God, and right now, damn, Detroit fumbled a fast break there. But anyways, I was thinking, it's just like Jerry Allen with the dunk right there to put the Cavs up by 1. I just think it's their time. I think if Detroit's going to win this game, I think you probably agree with this. Jalen Duren's got to show up.
Yes.
Because Paul Reed is getting time over him.
Yes.
Like, let me go back to game 6 and look at the times there. Like, this is a Jalen Duren, like, ladies and gentlemen, that's looking for a big time contract here this summer. A restricted free agent at that, but Paul Reed, the time he played, 16 minutes, 17 points, 6 rebounds, had like 3 turnovers, and yeah, Jalen Duren had a double-double, but it was a double-double, but it's just like this other role player is getting more time over you in certain situations. And right now, the new the current CBA and stuff like that, if you're Detroit,
Mm-hmm.
you want to pay. I mean, they're gonna pay him, but it's just like, damn, we can save a lot of money not paying this dude, and we got like a very more cheaper option right here. We still got Isaiah Stewart.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty well, drafting and whatnot, finding good role players. If the Lakers or Chicago, who they had the most cap space in this summer, they want to swoop in, let them swoop in.
Right.
But I think for Detroit to win, the role players got to step up. Cade Cunningham can't do everything by himself. Tobias Harris got to have a strong game. Duren's got a strong game. And then if Paul Reed gets extended minutes, he got to play well. You know, you got to play well. Duncan Robinson got to make his shots too when he comes in. So those things go right for Detroit. You know, Thompson, he got hit his shot as well. All things considered, if they go like that, I think it'd be good to go. And with Jenkins making a shot over Jared Allen, it was a long 2-pointer, so they probably look at that. But I got Detroit winning just because of that. And I know James Harden's got to step up D-Lock, but I don't see it.
Yeah.
And history has shown that
Mm-hmm.
he don't show up clutch in these situations. What's your thoughts on that?
I mean, multiple times. I think I seen the last one be 4 or 5 game sevens where he's shot less than 50%. So, that is something that's not good. So to me, you're probably going to need him to wake up. But historically, like you said, we've seen him not play well. So to me, at this point, you're gonna need your other guys, Evan Mobley, who's look like he's grabbing everything off the glass right now to play extremely well. You're gonna need Donovan Mitchell to have one of them games who hasn't scored yet, but these are the players that you're gonna have to depend on and rely on a little bit more because what are you expecting from James Harden? And we're seeing that. But my thing is you traded for this guy. Now, granted, this is the same year that you traded for him. So do you think he still needs more time to get adjusted, whatever the case may be? But at this point, like you said, he's shown historically who he is. He's shown historically that he is going to fold sometimes. So to me, and the way the Cavs play, they two on ball players who need the ball in their hand. You know what I mean? So there's going to be a time where Donovan Mitchell's off the court and James Harden's going to be running the point, and he's going to be the one that expected to put points up. So that's going to determine a lot for this team. Now they haven't got going yet, but eventually they will. But this is what how this team has been built. You got your two guards, you got your two big men also in Jared Allen and Mobley. So you got that assist to alley-oop all day if you need it. But now you got to be able to put it together. And again, you traded for this guy. So it's the energy that he brings. You got the team that you've already had. You just added him onto it. Let's see if he can bring that energy when it's needed. If James Harden wakes up, I think the Cavs are good. But again, like you said, if he doesn't, which we are used to seeing him not show up, is going to put a lot on Donovan Mitchell, which is what they had before he got there.
Yeah, and James Harden missed the step by 3, and then Cleveland got 2 offensive rebound opportunities there, and Max Strus missed both 3-pointers on those attempts right there. Max Strus who got the start over Dean Wade in this matchup.
Which was probably needed because Dane Wade has not done much for them. I think I seen the stat line where he literally had nothing.
Yeah. Fine role. I think I said this to you like, what, 2 weeks ago, 2-3 weeks ago?
Mm-hmm.
Some of these NBA players, they're fine for an 82-game season. But if you get to a situation like playoffs, stuff like that, you can't depend on them.
Yeah.
And no shady Dean Wade, but he's one of those guys that 82 games, hey, cool. Hey, you had 25 points against the damn 25 against the San Antonio Spurs in the upset, cool. Then you come to a situation like this, like, damn, dog, what's
disappear. Yeah. Yeah.
So
that's exactly what it is, and it usually happens that way. So most of the time when you see that, that's what we usually see. So And that's something that we got to realize that happens from time to time. Is like you said, some of these players are not showing up. They're just role players, and that's why the Cavs made that trade to go get their guy that they got. They went and got James Harden to add another piece onto it. They got a few role players, but now they brought another star onto it. So now, what does that do? And it has to pay off.
Let me ask you this: there's reports saying that James Harden maybe get an extension from the Cavs. Do you think it's a smart move for them to do that, or going by his history, like, okay, he'll stick around for a hot minute, but then ask to go somewhere else? Would it be wise to do that, or to give him an extension, or kind of just let him go? In your eyes,
I think in my opinion, at this point, you made that move, so you got to go all in. Go with this team that you have. Now, obviously, we got to see what's going to happen with LeBron. Does he come back home? Is he an option as well? But I think you got to take that shot. I mean, at this point, this is your game 7. You haven't had him that long. See what happens with the extension. We know how things go in the NBA, right? You get an extension, you sign a 3-year extension, it looks like it's going to be good, and then a year and a half or 2 years in, all of a sudden changes, or some teams find interest. So to me, I honestly think this is probably going to be James Harden's last stop. I don't think he's going to move too much anywhere else. I think this is going to be where he's going to land for a while. I think rightfully so with the young group that they got. Go ahead and make that offer and see what you can go with it.
I think they'll keep him around, but if I was there, I'd be very leery of him staying around long term. If things don't go right, we'd be asking out to go elsewhere. That's an honest question, because you saw how things go on with Philly. We saw things how go in Brooklyn. Saw how things go down in Houston. Clippers.
Mm-hmm.
Except for the Houston run, all the other sides weren't a long stay.
Nah.
And, for Cleveland, you got to think about that. This dude's about mid-30s, 35, 36. You got to consider this as well.
This is true.
So if I was Dan Gilbert, as James Harden hosted with 3, but they called a foul.
Yeah, foul.
Right there. So, but if you're Dan Gilbert and company, then you gotta, think about it. And then also, Donovan Mitchell, that extension, what's going to happen there? I think this game 7 right here is going to answer a lot of questions, for the Cavs, like who to keep, who to extend, who's going to make tough decisions, as Dean Wade made a 3-pointer right there to put the Cavs up by 4.
I guess we got to call him out.
The speak of the devil. He comes in and make a 3-point shot. And Jalen Duren driving, make the bank shot for the Pistons to cut the lead down by 2. The Cavs are up 11-9 with 5:23 left in the first quarter. Who else needs to step up in your eyes? And James Harden got the foul on Levert and possibly going to the line for 3. We'll see here in just a second. Who else needs to step up between either side in this matchup for them to win?
I wouldn't say step up for Tobias, because he's been playing extremely well for them. In my opinion, I would say probably Max Strus. I think that he had a hell of a game, I think, a couple of days ago. I think he went 6 for 8 3-point land or something like that. I think if you get him to play like that, you have a good chance of showing how much depth this team has. Another person also is Dennis Schroeder. I mean, he get the opportunities. He need to make something count with that. You know, so I think at this point, man, it really depends on that depth that Cleveland have. So I think now, and that's what I guess with the Cleveland side with Detroit. I think they have their normal group, that's the reason why I said that team. I'm not gonna say they're beatable, but I feel like the Cavs have more depth because of the guy that they went and moved on and got. Now, obviously, like I said, Keon Ellis is not playing that much, um, but Dennis Schroeder is getting some minutes. So for me, Tobias is playing top tier right now. He's playing a great level basketball. Cade Cunningham is being Cade Cunningham. Obviously, we talked about Jalen Durant. Jalen Durant playing well for them. So the Pistons is not really too much who can come in and make a big change for that team. I mean, Paul Reed can come in and play a little bit. If I had to pick somebody, he barely gets some minutes, but Isaiah Stewart can possibly come in and do something for them. But he's in that rotation with Paul Reed and Green. I mean, he comes in, he plays the defender mode for them. If he can come in and do something for them off the bench, because they got those guards on the Cavs side. You're gonna need to play some defense on them. Sure, Thompson is playing as well as he can as well. Also, so to me, I think it's more so the player that needs to step up for the Cavs. Now, obviously, having that chance to close it out at home, not doing it is a big upset. So let's see if they can turn it around tonight with 3 quarters left. Well, 3 quarters and 6 minutes left.
I'll look at it like this. Like right now, Dean Wade's come in and scored like 5 points for the Cavs. So you got that going on. If you're Cleveland, that's like an added bonus because he's been not giving you nothing in this playoff run for the most part. So that's a positive sign. For Detroit, the defense, they're playing very good at the high, stopping the I won't say pressing, but having good defense at the top. Once Cleveland crossed the half court line and getting steals, just before they went to break here, Karis LeVert got the layup there after the defense and the trap. So, if LeVert can, just continue that play and stuff like that, play strong, I think that'll go a long way for them. But it's been a good game so far. Both teams are in it. I thought Kenny Atkinson is going to get teed up right there the way he's going towards the Rev. So, cool heads prevail.
I mean, right now, yeah, and it seems like, I mean, he's probably definitely not necessarily stressed out for good right now, but he got to be feeling some type of way big time because your two guards haven't done anything yet. Donovan Mitchell hasn't scored yet, and neither has James Harden. So, although this game is tied up, those guys got to get going. They are obviously you getting Evan Mobley and Jared Allen involved, but those are the guys that you have to get going for this team to start the role where they want to. So again, I'm pretty sure that's something that's probably going on because obviously this is game 7. And if you don't get those two guys going, obviously being pissed at a couple of these fouls that's being called, if you cannot get these guys going, it might be good night for the Cavs.
It's 13-13 right now. We'll come back to this here just a second. But I do want to talk to this, you, D-Log, because you weren't here last week. But let's hop into it right here. The Washington Wizards won the 2026 draft lottery, securing the number overall pick. Let me get my results up here. The draft lottery results, the top 14, Wizards, Utah Jazz, Memphis, Wizards number 3. The Bulls, who had a big jump, go to number 4. And the Clippers, due to the Ivan Zubac trade,
Find a way. Yeah.
if the pick landed in the top 4, the Pacers will keep the pick. If it landed outside of that, it went to the Clippers, and lo and behold, it went to the LA Clippers, who got some good luck right there, if I'm being honest. D-Lock, your thoughts on the Wizards winning the draft lottery and then the top 5, how it played out?
I mean, the Wizards are in a hell of a spot. They got the vets that obviously a couple injury-prone type guys over there, but you got some guys that are going to play a huge role for you in Anthony Davis and Trey Young. I think the Wizards have a big young team. The biggest thing that I think they're missing is leadership. So can they have that leadership with the guys that they have there? For me, I wonder, do they trade out of that pick? Do they keep that pick or do they trade out of it? Because they got a lot of good young guys. Can they use that to go get, possibly some other type player that they're looking for? But for them to win, I definitely had my mind thinking that the Clippers could find, the Clippers could find their way, or possibly OKC could find their way in that number 1 spot. But other than that, I mean, like I said, looking at this 1 to 5, these teams definitely had a rough year, and there's going to be some good players that they're going to get out of this draft. And I wonder, we've seen Utah in this damn top 5 almost every year. So what happens with them? Memphis, you got John Morant there. Does that impact him staying there? Who are you pairing with him? How do you move about this? So to me, not a bad top 5. Does Memphis call Milwaukee on a Giannis possibility? I believe you do got a young piece in John Morant there, but are you going to stick to that guy? So top 5 isn't bad, but I think Washington is obviously the winner and having that number 1 pick. The question is, do they stay in it or do they move on from that pick?
I said on last week's show, I think if you're the Wizards, this is the best case scenario for yourself. And I also said, you got to go through everybody. It's not like one player bust in this type of draft. You got AJ DeMista. You got Darren Peterson, Boozer, Caleb Wilson. I mean, they're kind of like your top 4 right there. And after that, you got your next round of guys, more your guards right here. And LeBron Fallon, Keaton Wagler, the kid from Houston, what's his name? I think it's Fleming. Yeah, Kingston Flemings.
Yeah.
I think that's your next set of guys, and I could be missing another player there. So, got those 4, you got like at least 7 guys right there that you should be coming in, bringing in for workouts, vetting them, looking at all the tape, and make sure who would be the right fit for your organization. Because you got to get this right. The Wizards been hanging around the lottery for too damn long. Everybody talk, all these execs in the NBA, these folks worry about tanking and stuff like that. I said on last week's show, it's like the Wizards been in the lottery for a very damn long time. The Sacramento Kings been in the lottery for a long damn time. I graduated in high school in 2006. Before the Kings make that playoff run, a couple years ago, they made the playoffs beforehand. And look how many times they were in the lottery, D-Lock. Look who they drafted before we got to that point. with them making the playoffs. Guys like Tyreek Evans, Jason Thompson, DeMarcus Cousins, Jimmer Fredette, Nick Stauskas, Thomas Robinson. God, who else I'm missing around that run? But y'all get the point. And none of those dudes made an impact with that team. De'Aaron Fox. Guys like that. So you gotta make the right pick. I mean, it starts from the top from ownership on down. Who you have as a coach on that matters too. But you got hit on some of these. You got hit on these kids. You got to bet them.
Yeah.
Got to bet them.
Been up at the top every year.
Let me ask you this. We know AJ DeMissa got paid big to go BYU. Right? You know, he and his family, they got paid big money to go play the high school out in Utah and that stuff. He got paid pretty big, which I'll be honest, if that didn't happen, I think he's going to go to Alabama. The NIL played big factor in that. Anyways, the reason that move happened because the owner of the Utah Jazz paid big money for that. If you're the Wizards and the Jazz is wanting this kid in their organization, how much you asking for a return for that number one pick?
If I'm the Wizards,
yeah. If the Jazz want to move up so bad to get this kid and keep this kid in Utah,
let me look at that roster. Double check.
If you're the Wizards, okay, you coming in and say, okay, I got Trae Young for next year. I got I got to sell Anthony Davis to stay here as a Wizard. Alex Sarr, a budding player. Let me see. I can pull it up. Hold on. Let me pull up the Wizards roster real quick.
Yeah, that roster ain't too bad either. It definitely ain't too bad. Especially with a couple of pieces that they got over there. You probably could make something shake with that.
So Trey Johnson, Baleo Kumblue, Alex Sarr, Trae Young, Anthony Davis, who's making $58 million next year. Good Lord. Jaden Hardy, D'Angelo Russell will have a player option, which he probably opt in because I don't think he'll get nothing else like that in the market. Cam Whitmore, Bud Carrington, Will Riley, Keyshawn George, Justin Champagne. So that's what the Wizards roster is looking at. In your eyes, what does Utah have to do to get that number one pick?
I mean, looking at this roster, I think if you want marketing, I'm getting ahead of myself. If you want Jaren Jackson, you want the best of that bad. You're gonna give up that first round pick. Maybe 2 next year's first round pick. And I would take I probably would have to package Ace Bailey. The reason why I say it is because Ace Bailey is probably this team's future. He's gonna be, he's the guy for the Jazz. But the Buster, he's gonna be, the guy regardless. Now, to me, they're gonna have him paired with a few other guys, and I think that he is that. I think he's gonna be really good in the NBA. think it's going to be really good. He's going to make that difference for the Utah Jazz. Now, again, like I said, if I'm looking at, go back and look at this Wizards roster again, I think they have a stud type roster. I just, obviously healthy, but Trae Young, like you said, Trae Young, Kalabot, Sar, Anthony Davis, obviously we know how that rolls. But I probably want some depth. So Bailey is definitely somebody that I would want. I think Jared Jackson would be a reach. But depth is everything. I think Will Riley is a good piece. But give me Ace Bailey. And that second overall pick. Let's swap with that. Give me next year's pick, because now you're in second and you still, like you said, you still got Peace in there, you still got Boozer, you got hella options. But I think Bailey, who had a hell of a season this past year, kind of set himself up and kind of put a name for himself of what he can be in the NBA. So to me, if you want that number one pick so bad, give up some of your future.
Yep.
Because I think he's going to be the guy for you. So to me, like I said, I wouldn't ask for too much, simply because, like I said, I think that they have a lot of good pieces over there in Washington. You got Trae Young. Trae Young's probably what, maybe 27, if that.
Yeah.
He might be 27. So you got Trae Young. You know what I'm saying? You got Anthony Davis, your leader, or your possible leader. So, but if you want to bounce in, he's gonna make a big move for you. Go ahead and give me one of your up and coming stars that I can pair with the Trae Young for the future. And I probably use that second overall pick to draft me a big man to pair, and then have once Anthony Davis obviously had with his injury history. So that's my thought behind that, because you have some young pieces, but go ahead and give me one of those for somebody who could possibly be up for Rookie of the Year.
Looking right now, the Jazz, they got 2 first-round picks this year. Their pick at number 2 and the Minnesota Timberwolves pick for the Rudy Gobert trade.
Mm-hmm.
Then, they got 2028, because, if y'all know, you can't trade consecutive years in draft due to the what's the old Cleveland Cavaliers owner's name who got the ball rolling and all that. But anyways, it'll come to me here in a second. Then you get to 2029, you got the last of that Wolves pick,
Mm-hmm.
and then your pick. So for me, looking like this, if I was Washington, you're right. If you're gonna get AJ DeMista, you gotta come off Ace Bailey.
Mm-hmm.
Don't try and sell me Cody Williams. I mean, he's a fine player, but I don't think I'll get equal value there. Give me Ace Bailey. We'll swap the first and second pick. Now, if you're Washington, could you ask for that Minnesota pick and get another value player later in that first round? Possible. I think it's one of those drafts that you probably could get some more depth for yourself. Or you probably got to start working on this now if you're going to do this. Walker Kessler is a restricted free agent. Is there a way you can find a sign and trade to get that done? So you won't lose much draft capital.
Mm-hmm.
Now, it's a huge risk because Kessler didn't play much this year. And I think one reason, if you're the Wizards, you do this. If you decide to keep Anthony Davis does not like playing a 5-man spot. Even though he should, but he doesn't.
Does not.
Is there a way that you can get Kessler in the deal? So, if you're Washington,
that was something I was thinking too.
So, if you're Washington, Ace Bailey, Walker Kessler, and new contract that you're not breaking the bank and all that. you swap in first round picks, and then you probably give up your 2029 draft first round pick in the second round. You get your guy. Now, if you're the Wizards, you got Kessler, who if he's healthy, you got him at center to go along with Davis and Sarr at the 4 spot. Then Trae Young, Trae Johnson, whoever you take at second, either like Peterson and Boozer or Caleb Wilson, and then you just go about that way.
Yeah, I mean you have your core now, and then now you have your core to build with. That's what I mean by this team has a decent roster. You just probably need a little bit of leadership. Now, can Anthony Davis take that role? That's the big thing. Can he take that role, play that leadership role? Because he's gonna have to be the one. He's the vet in the group, the championship winner in that group, and they're gonna need somebody to help them with that. So to me, like I said, Trae Young being young, um, you pair him with a lot of young players around him that he can continue to play with, because at some point Anthony Davis is going to be gone, right? Uh,
Mm-hmm.
and the East hasn't been the toughest lately, but we know that you're going to get you some good talent out of the East, and they can be an up and coming team, right? We know the Orlando Magic is on the up. Um, Boston Celtics, I think, is going to be here for a while. Um, Chicago, obviously, we see them in this top 5. We don't know what the hell they're going to do, but I think that you make this move now. Can you kind of get you a good big 3, big 4 that you kind of can build with for years to come? And that's something that they haven't had. They haven't had that in a long time. So now that you get it, what can you do? So to me, I think now you take the opportunity. Obviously, that number 1 pick looks great. You obviously Dimension's there, but everybody's going to be wanting to grab him. If the Jazz want him that bad, hey, send me, a couple of your star players. Got the guy that you want, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because now you do that, I think it really puts Washington in. We do our reviews in the fall heading into the NBA season, or we talk about the previews. Now you're looking at a team that can possibly be a playoff contending team in the Wizards if you keep a healthy Anthony Davis, Trae Young, and now you got this young core with the Ace Bailey and these other guys. So I don't think it's a bad idea. I think you got your young players. In my opinion, like I said, I would probably. That's why I said it earlier. I possibly would probably think about moving on from that number 1 pick and see who is going to offer the best deal for it. Because when you have a player like Anthony Davis and a Trae Young pairing your team with the Alex Sarr, these other guys, this team can be contending for a playoff spot. A lot of East teams are going backwards. They can easily be trending up if they make the right move.
Yeah, they got to do that. I think the Wizards got to do that. If you can get more future assets and stuff like that. Stuff like that. Like I said, like you mentioned, you got to think about the future too.
Mm-hmm.
Anthony Davis is already in his 30s, and his health ain't guaranteed.
Nah.
So if you can flip this and get extra draft capital, some other young players, and then maybe get your star player of the future, you're cooking.
Yes.
And what I mentioned about last week in the East, Milwaukee, we don't know what's going to happen with them. Boston, we don't know what's going to happen with them. They're going to make some changes, and Jaylen Brown has said some things. The Knicks, we'll see what happens with them.
Mm-hmm.
And, the Cavs, we're watching right now. They're up by 12 right now against the Pistons. And Asur Thompson misses the shot right there. and Cleveland bring the ball up. But the Pistons, they're still a young team, but they
Right.
got some questions. So if you're the Wizards, and just kind of looking in the division, staying within the division, couple moves are there, you could be better than the Hornets. A couple moves, you can be better than the Hawks. Be better than the Heat. One I think you have right to worry about your Orlando Magic, and they probably looking to do something.
I would expect it. I mean, I think obviously the year didn't go as planned, but again, like you said, the East is not super loaded. Um, what does Milwaukee do? Does Giannis stay on the East or does he go West? I think that's going to play a huge role, right? So to me, it just depends on just making one or two decisions that can change your franchise for years, moving forward. I think that is the biggest deal for me, is making a decision to say, hey, we're going to go all in. Anthony Davis is what, 31, 32. But his health, he's not the healthiest 31-year-old right now. He is injury prone from time to time. We got Trey Young, we got a lot of these pieces. We about to go ahead and go all in right now. Let's go ahead and try to get what we need to get now. So that's my biggest thing is, you go and you got that young crew with a vet, shoot, go ahead and go for it and see where go and see what happens. Obviously we talk about Giannis being traded. Does Milwaukee call Washington? Can you put some type of package together for that? This offseason is going to get very interesting because you got a lot of studs in this draft. And now, obviously, what makes it even more interesting is possibly LeBron's going to be a free agent. And now we know that Giannis is going to be on the move. So this offseason is going to get very interesting. This draft is going to definitely play a big role on that as well.
So, we talked heavy right there for the top two picks right there. That good to have a discussion. And then let's go here. 6, the Brooklyn Nets. 7, Sacramento Kings. 8, the Atlanta Hawks. Viva, the New Orleans Pelicans. 9, Dallas Mavericks. 10, Milwaukee Bucks. 11, Golden State Warriors. 12, Oklahoma City Thunder. 13, Miami Heat. 14, Charlotte Hornets. Between those teams right there, do some of them stay in that spot, or are they trying to draft best player available in your eyes?
Again, I think for me, obviously, what's going to happen this offseason is, what does Milwaukee do? I mean, at this point, we understand that they're gonna definitely move on from Giannis. So what do they do? Do they move up in this draft? Do they try to go, get something out of this? I think the Atlanta Hawks is a pretty solid team. So I probably say they probably would look at more maybe depth. I mean depth in that scenario because they got so many good pieces. Sacramento, I mean, we got to see what the hell they got going on. Um, Dallas, I think the same thing with them. I think they probably gonna go depth as well. But for me, the team that stands out is Milwaukee. Do you try to possibly move up in that top five and get you somebody that can be your next star? Because obviously we know the opposite is going to happen. So at this point, you're probably going to move on from him, and now you want to replace him, Giannis. So now that's the team that stands out to me. Now you got some solid players, obviously outside of that top five. But that top five is, I think very loaded. Okay, like you said, Caleb Williams, Boozer, and Darren Peterson. Obviously, and best of so. Do Milwaukee try to say, hey, we already know, let's try to get ahead of this. We know that Giannis is not going to come back. We want to kind of stay, relevant, or we want to stay pretty, pretty competitive. Let's move up and try to get one of these star players. So, but Milwaukee is a team that definitely stands out to me in this next five.
I look at this next set of teams. The Hawks. I said on last week's show, they need a point guard,
Mm-hmm.
like an actual pure point guard. Because, like I said about the other guys coming in, like they're more combo guys. You need like a pure point, in my humble opinion. So for them, and also they need like a 5-man as well. So I think they need more of a guard and a big man, because I think they can find somebody for that. But I think for the Hawks, they got to hit on the right pick there at that spot. The Bucks, I think for them, they just got to take the best player available at that point, whoever's on the draft board, and go from there. Or using this pick for somebody else if you trade Giannis. I don't know. But I'm thinking, the Bucks, they got to figure out something. They got to figure out something and quickly, because you already saw the stories about Jimmy Haslam, who I did not know bought a part of ownership with the Milwaukee Bucks. I did not know that. I looked, I was like, damn, Jimmy Haslam got to own ownership with part of the Bucks. So I'm like, okay, we'll see how that goes. But he's saying he wants to resolve before the draft, so we'll see what happens there. Miles Turner basically kind of just gave us the peek behind the curtain, what happened during the season. Giannis doing what he wants. Doc not finding dudes, and all that stuff. So it seemed like Milwaukee was like a hot mess all year.
Yeah.
So
Big time.
it seems like they got to figure things out and go from there. I know they hired Taylor Jenkins.
Where does it go? Yeah.
Like, it doesn't scream, okay, it doesn't scream. I'm not saying they're gonna keep. I'm not saying they're keeping Giannis, but it doesn't scream like Giannis
We
gonna be
need
here.
to keep. Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I agree with that.
And like I said on last week's show, this dude was he's gonna go coach community college basketball.
Mm-hmm.
That's my thing. Like, never wrong. I'm not. I should have went that route in basketball, community college. Should have went that route, but from the NBA to all the way down there,
Big drop.
that's a big drop, ladies and gentlemen. Some of y'all probably watching this right now, probably either play JUCO ball, or know somebody that did. That's a big ass drop.
Mm-hmm.
Like, no college job came after him. No NBA team came in as an assistant coach or anything like that. That's a big drop.
And what's the reason for
I'd rather go find a high school team to go coach.
it? Yeah.
Hey, man, they're serious. They're serious. I mean, nothing wrong with if I do high school or community college, I'll do high school. I would rather do high school.
Yeah.
God,
That's a huge drop.
I just see my own eyes. Like, you get better connections in you coach at high school than community college. Not saying that's right or wrong, but I just seem like you get better ends if you're a high school coach compared to community college.
Right.
But anyway, moving forward. This group right here was finish this out. The Thunder, who people were sweating bullets that they might get in the top 4, but luckily
they fizzled out.
They fizzled out. They stayed the 12th pick. Let me ask you this. They got some big questions to ask and to go through this offseason. Lou Dort, free agent. Isaiah Hartenstein, team option. Jalen Williams didn't play much this year. If you see them at the 12th pick in the lottery. What route should they go with this pick?
I mean, this team got so much depth. They probably can go get them a forward to add to what they have. The two-time reigning MVP is going to be there for AJ Mitchell is playing is stepping up big time. See what they do with Caruso. I probably would go forward. I think they have the depth everywhere else, a lot of spots, but go get you a forward. And that is what scared a lot of people is if they did get the number one pick. The best is probably a lock there. You pair him with SGA and Chet, like hell, you got a dynasty for years. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So to me, they got all them damn picks. So, but the thing is, man, they got so many picks, man. Do they kind of like use those picks to trade off, and use to go somewhere else with? And that's my thing is you got your young team. Hell, I don't think they got many people on that team over the age of 28.
I don't think so.
So yeah. So to me, you're looking at a team that is very solid. Um, Shoot, go ahead and put you some get you a little vet around them and see what you can do with it.
Looking at the roster
But
right now, like I said, Lou Dort, Isaiah Hartenstein, both got team options.
mm,
So and for Hartenstein, you're looking at least another $28 million or so. Lou Dort, at least, almost $20 million.
hmm
You got to pick. You got to pick. You keep the big man down low, or you keep your best defensive stopper.
mm.
And I think with the draft, with not too many big men in it, you make the sacrifice the wing player
Yeah,
and keep the big man.
I agree. I mean, I think, like you said, we don't see that many big men in this draft, so the possibility is probably more likely to go ahead and grab you another 3 and D guy. You're probably going to find a hell of a lot more of those in this draft. But you got Chet and you got Isaiah Hartenstein. The thing is, this team is solid exactly where they are, right? They haven't lost in the playoffs, so they kind of just going through the season with this team. Now, in my opinion, I think they should try their best to bring as many pieces back. But obviously, money's going to talk in many places. So to me, um, it only makes sense to make that decision on who you would move on from between the 3 and D guy and your big man. But like you said, it goes off the right. It goes off the 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 draft. What do you have? What's in that draft. So to me, that is a tough decision, but that's a decision that they got to make that would make them continue being the dynasty that they are. And also, we'll see what that free agency look like as well. Who does get moved around and who they can replace. But I think they're in a sweet position, man. I mean, you're at 12. I wouldn't be surprised if teams are going to be calling them trying to move up, to that spot to get somebody.
And going to the chat real quick. Shout out to Marcus. Los, great. I hope you enjoyed that Rousey and Gina Carano fight last night that didn't last too long. But
Nope.
he said time for Golden State to release Draymond. I don't think that's going to happen. They said they're going to keep that dude in. They should have done 2 seasons ago. He said the Heat and the Hornets, 13-14, crazy work. Those 2 teams right there were battling for a playoff spot last month. talking about the Hornets and Heat. The Hornets, okay, they kind of come and they finally figured themselves out. We'll see they build on that. But the Heat, they're in this situation is like they've been to play in this part of the standings for a very long time. What can they do to kind of get themselves out of this borderline lottery team and kind of shoot up? Who do they target in this draft here?
In my opinion, I don't think it's who they target in the draft. I think it's who they target in the offseason. And I think that's one Giannis Antetokounmpo. I think they need to be in the role of trying to get Giannis. This Heat team that they've had was a very similar Heat team that they had before they moved on from before Jimmy Butler was traded to or was sent to the Golden State Warriors. I mean, right now, Davion Mitchell, Tyler Hero, I think Norman Powell's a solid player. Wiggins and Bam. I think that this team, with that core that they have, is not going to change. I think that's going to be a consistent draft possible team. To me, okay, it seems like Tyler Hero has not been the same since the bubble. I mean, he just has not been that consistent player since then. I really like Jovic. I think he can be a good player for this team. He plays a huge role for them when he do get the opportunity. But their rotation isn't bad. It's just the inconsistency from their scores. Tyler Hero, Norman Powell, these guys are not consistent with their scoring. So to me, Wiggins is a solid piece, but I think this team needs to go move for a big man, a big star, and I think that guy is Giannis. Now, how do they get that done and keep Bam? That's for them to figure out in that front office. But there's some type of way that I would try to get that to work, because right now, we can look at this roster and see the key pieces, but I mean, I wasn't impressed by this team this season. I mean, it wasn't nothing that had me impressed with this team at all. They were very inconsistent, in my opinion. It's not giving the Heat culture. So to me, I think that they have to consider making some major changes. And, obviously we've heard about Giannis possibly being moved, and Miami's been paired to that, and that's a possibility. Can be. But what are they gonna give up to get Giannis? So to me, drafting another player is not a move that I think that this team should make. I think this team need to move towards they're young enough. Go get you another solid player that can help the Tyler Hero and the Bam. Again, is it possible that you can have Bam and Giannis on the same team? We'll see. You're probably gonna have to give up a shit ton to get Giannis, but going into the draft with this team, I think that's a no-go.
We'll see how they go for Miami. I just think they have drafted pretty decently. They found solid players like you brought up, but just solid role players, solid pieces. But they need another dog in there. You know what I'm saying? Like, if they can create the cap space, like LeBron be a nice spot for them.
Yeah. And it is Miami. He's been there.
I don't think he'll go back how things went. And then if you see Michael Beasley talk to Shannon Sharp about the cookie story, I think that was the final straw there. But they need somebody like that. And what they're going to give up for Giannis, that's a very hard, very, very good question. Because Norman Powell's a free agent.
Yeah.
So, like, you could figure out a sign and trade for that. I don't see Milwaukee taking him back if you're trying to offload Giannis and maybe trying to offload Kyle Kuzma, who's on an expiring contract.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Again, it just eh, this roster is young. I mean, you can go draft you another player, but I mean, your leaders are still going to be Tyler Hero and Bam, and you know we see what we know the energy that Jimmy Butler brings to any team. I mean, I think that energy left when he left. To be honest, I mean, I think Bam is great. We see what he did this past season, that 80+ game. But it's just like this. We're looking at a Miami Heat team that's literally barely making the play in and getting put out in the play in. Um, we're used to seeing them be competitive, especially in the East. I remember seeing them battle against Boston multiple times. And now it's like they're battling with Charlotte just to get in the playoffs. I love my Orlando Magic, but usually what happens is Miami Heat are usually the team that's the talk of the Florida basketball teams. And right now, you're not really seeing too much from them. So we got to see what they're going to do. I mean, like I said, you could draft another player, somebody sitting at 13, who's going to come in and make an impact with your two big guys. I mean, maybe you go another forward, being the fact that, like you said, Norman Powell is possibly a free agent. Or, do you call LeBron and see what you guys can work out? Which is far fetched, but at this point, I just think that this team that they have is just not it. I just don't see it being competitive in the East, and they showed us that multiple seasons.
so this draft is going to be very interesting. This one,
Mhm.
I think, next year's, it's going to be very interesting how things play out. So the next couple of years, we're going to see how things going to play out. But this one, I think, is going to shape up the next generation of the NBA. And this, in my opinion, we'll see.
Yeah.
But D-Lock, let's go back to Detroit real quick because the Cavaliers are starting to put it on the Detroit Pistons right now. 55-37
Mhm.
with 2:31 left in the first half. Right now, let me pull the box score up real quick. Getting there. Detroit just made 3-pointers, so they're down by 15 by 3-point by Duncan Robinson. Kate Cunningham, 10 points thus far. Jalen Duren, 6 points, 6 rebounds for him. The aforementioned Duncan Robinson, 7 points for him thus far in this matchup. D-Lock, they down by 15, talking about Detroit. What can they do with Evan Mobley taking the basket strong to the basket against Jalen Duren for the shot? What can Detroit do in the second half to erase this deficit and win this game at home?
They're gonna have to make the shots. Looks like they're not shooting that well, but right now, Cleveland is playing out of their mind. And it's not even Donovan Mitchell and James Harden. I mean, Sam Merrill's out there playing extremely well right now. We talked about Dean Wade. He's made a few key shots for him. So their bench is coming around playing a hell of a role for him. But they're gonna need a Short Thompson to kind of wake up on the offensive side, which we haven't seen him do usually a lot. He's more of a defender. But him, Duncan Robinson, those guys are gonna have to get going. Cade Cunningham, we talked about it. He can do so much. I mean, 10 points, three rebounds, and 4 assists already. This guy's doing a lot. Now, a person that is hurting them, who I say extremely good stuff about, is Tobias. He only has 1 point right now. So, as good as his playoff season has been going, they're going to need him to wake up for them, so they kind of can get things going right now. But I think if he wakes up, Duncan Robinson can go out there and get some things going. His team might have a chance. But right now, uh, Cleveland is playing right now. They're playing pretty solid. And the thing about it is their main guys are not hot yet. So,
Yeah.
if they can maintain and keep these, like I said, James Harden 1 for 6, 1 for 4, Donovan Mitchell 4 for 10. They're not really cooking like that. Their guards are. Mobley and Allen are doing whatever they want right now. But thing about it is, if I don't see Donovan Mitchell and James Harden consistently shooting bad in that second half, so um, I think they're gonna have to go on a run, uh, quick as hell to kind of close this gap because once if those two guys get going and they're down by 10, I think it's done for.
Yeah, and Tobias Harris is at the line right now for Detroit, who are down 17 right now with a minute 15 left in the first half. Some reason Evan Mobley's bringing the ball up. I don't know why, but why Detroit's not pressuring that. But right now, Donovan Mitchell driving the lane, getting past Harris there, and another and one opportunity for the Cavaliers with Jared Allen possibly going to the line and making Jalen Duren look like cheeks right now.
Mhm.
Once again, and that's poor defense by Tobias Harris right there, who let Mitchell get in the lane like that. So I put that more on Tobias than Jalen Duren, but still, Jalen Duren, you right there, dog. You got to contest that better.
Mm-hmm.
But for me, for Detroit to get back into this and win, like you mentioned, Tobias Harris, he got to wake up. Like, he's one of those dudes who get paid a lot of money, but don't get raked over the coals like other folks. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like LeBron we'll talk about the Lakers here in a little bit, but talk about, LeBron, talking, hey, I was kind of disappointed in Austin Reeves, after game 3 and whatnot. Or game 2, game 3, whatever those 2 games. And then, Austin Reeves bounced back, showed up, and all that stuff. Tobias, he gets paid a lot of money, but he don't get that criticism like that because I think kind of in our eyes, kind of drawing our conclusions of, Tobias is like a high level role player, and Evan Mobley with another and one opportunity for the Cavaliers in which
they hot right now.
They hot right now. The pick and roll, I don't think like pick and roll is just like kind of like a staggered pick and roll. Like, if they set the screen, they set the screen. But if they're not, if they got the more than one opportunity, they're going through it. They're going past them. Detroit's up. I mean, Detroit's down by 20. Tobias is sitting down. Paul Reed's in the game. No, excuse me. No, he's not. Excuse me. Daniel Jones doing the game. So if you're Big Steph, you got to figure something out. They rally these boys. You got to lean on that tough love and that hard play that they've been playing all year to get back to this game. Because right now, okay, now you make a 3-point shot right there. And then now you're going to let Jared Allen possibly make a layup right there. No, he missed it. So, okay. Down by 17.
Mm-hmm.
So, you got to fight and claw back. Do some of the things.
They got to go on a run.
Go ahead.
They got to go on a run. I mean, but the thing is, they're letting Jared Allen and Mobley do what they want. Like you said, they're making those big men. Maybe they make some type of adjustment. Paul Reed. You come in with Jalen Duren, Isaiah Stewart, or something, because right now it's not clicking for him. Cade Cunningham, 12 points, 5 assists, and 3 rebounds. I mean, he's doing all he can right now. Tobias, 3 points, assist, and 3 rebounds. So 3 points, assist and a rebound. Dennis Jenkins, who we talked about earlier, who started only 6 points.
And he started off hot.
Started out very hot. So now, and you're at home. Not in Cleveland, you're at home. So this adjustment is going to be very interesting. I do expect James Harden and Donovan Mitchell to wake up, though, however.
For me, look, for Cleveland, you got the momentum right now. Your big man playing strong right now. That's very key. So if you're in the second half, you still ride those big men. If they hot and stuff like that, playing strong, feed off that. All right, don't try to get James involved off that. If Mobley and Jared Allen are hot, ride that to the sun comes up.
True.
And then, if extra bonus, if you get like guys like Sam Merrill coming in and scoring 15 points for you in the first half like that, and they continue that strong play, Dean Wade getting you points here and there, perfect. Dennis Schroeder coming in, making solid plays for you, perfect. All right. Don't rock the boat. If Harden and Mitchell can make nice good shots and make nice key plays that kind of keep it above 15-point lead, you're good.
Yeah.
But don't come to the second half and
changing things up.
Like you mentioned, like getting a run with Kate Cunningham and Duncan Robinson getting off in the second half. And now we're talking about we're back in the game, all that.
Well, 17-point game, like I said, I think you go on a little 8-0 run, and now you're looking at a 9-point game. So these guys got to continue attacking. Their defender, one of the best defenders, Ashore Thompson, hasn't really done too much. But now, like you said, you feed your big guys. Allen 15 and Evan Mobley with 12. Evan Mobley looked like he's on a double watch. Yeah, it looked like he's on a triple-double watch at this point. So now, get your guys going. Cade Cunningham, he's already leading the charge. Dennis Jenkins, maybe you make an adjustment. Maybe Duncan Robinson starts the the second half. Maybe you make a slight adjustment somewhere. But again, 17-point game. Again, like I said, all it takes is a couple possessions. You turn 47 into 53. Now you got your 11-point game. You go pop a 3. Now you got your 8-point game. So it just takes them to stay in it. Now we've seen them make a few runs. I hate to say haven't seen them do a couple runs against my Orlando Magic, but it was in the first half. Them being down by 17 right now is kind of challenging. So let's see if they can actually make a quick run, get a smooth 8 points and make this a game. But now, like you said, for the Cavs, you feed off what you have. These guys right now, your big guys, they're doing what they're doing. They're making it hard for them. But I do see, like I said, them kind of making a slight adjustment and go from there. But it seems like Max Strus has stepped up into the Dean Wade role. He's starting. He's not doing too much, but we know the depth of that team. So again, think this game is going to get a little bit tighter. But if the Cavs can continue on their roll, they can pull away. But do know, like I said, them guards haven't done much just yet. The Pistons got to keep them quiet.
So we'll see how things shake out here in the second half for both teams. We'll come back to it here momentarily before we go off the air. But D-Lock, we got to talk about this series here. OKC completed the sweep in which I don't think neither you or I were surprised by this. I thought the Lakers may squeeze one, but I just knew they're going to get swept by this squad. They win the series 4-0 OKC. I'll give JJ credit this, D-Lock. He had a good game plan, but he didn't have the horses to go over the top against OKC. I'll speak more on him in a second, that Lakers' future, but Shai goes down there and dominate with 35 points, 8 assists lead. OKC's late surge. AJ Mitchell, who took over in that fourth quarter. I was like, God dog. He finished with a career high 28 points, including 10 in a frantic fourth quarter. Also in that fourth quarter, Chet Holmgren had a dunk to tie the game, and then the Lakers just couldn't overcome that. Austin Reeves had 27 points for the Lakers, but missed a game-time three-pointer in the final seconds. Proved costly. And also in that, you saw that game. Why do you take Rui Hachimura at the game like that?
Mm-hmm.
And put Matthew Kleber in? What are we doing here?
Bad decisions, man.
LeBron James posted 24 and 12. D-Locke, your thoughts on OKC sweeping the Lakers?
I think OKC is just too talented, man. I mean, I think I wanted the Lakers to get some wins, obviously being a big LeBron fan. But I think OKC is just they're incredibly too talented. You know, you got Adrian Mitchell having a hell of a series. Then now, not only that, Jarrett McCain can come in and stroke it if he want to.
Mm-hmm.
So they got this depth, and that's what Lakers struggle with, and a lot of teams. LeBron has been LeBron. Like, he's gonna do what he's gonna do. That I don't think that changes. But again, obviously Austin Reeves coming back from injury. Like you said, he put in Kleber in. DeAndre Ayton had one solid game, I believe. The inconsistency there. You ain't see nothing from Vanderbilt. Obviously with Luka being out, that's the big handicap as well. I just think that here, they didn't have, like you said, we talked. You didn't give them at this point. It was like, I don't think they're gonna get a game, and they did. I mean, like I said, that team is just entirely too deep. And we still visually see, like, to me, I still see, LeBron being the younger LeBron, but that's not him. I mean, he's not gonna bring a team back 3-0. That's just not who he is anymore, especially a team as talented as OKC. So the question is, what do the Lakers do in the offseason now? They got to figure out their offseason. They made all these moves. Obviously, Luka being hurt. What happens moving forward? But again, we talked about this last year when OKC won a championship. This team is going to be hard to beat for years to come for anybody. They got the depth. They are looking like the best team in the NBA right now. I'm not gonna lie, the Spurs look very impressive as well. But I do see where I believe OKC has the edge over them. But
Okay.
I just think that OKC is just a team that's gonna they're too deep, man. They're gonna give a lot of team issues because of they got people on the team that can go start somewhere else and give them 25 and 7. So like you said, that free agency when they're gonna have some people for Dort, a couple other guys, but with this team right now, I think they're gonna give issues for the Spurs as well.
I think JJ Redick is a solid coach, but I think one thing he's got to work on, he's got to figure out in the future that he's got to believe in his guys.
Mm-hmm.
He's got to believe in his guys because, okay, you look at one side of OKC, and if y'all notice on these playoff runs, maybe besides the New York Knicks, put them to the side. These like Cleveland and Detroit. All right, Detroit took their lumps for the past few years, but now after health and drafting, they're getting their ass kicked right now, but they're one game away from the Eastern Conference Finals. They won 60-plus games.
Mm-hmm.
But you see the depth and stuff in their bench, and really kind of paid off this year because Kate Cunningham missed games this year. Jalen Durham missed games this year. Isaiah Stewart missed games. But because of their depth and whatnot and how they built their team, they didn't lose a step.
Mm-hmm.
OKC, traded Paul George, got Shea, all those draft picks, but they took their lumps for a few years. And now you see, getting Shea, who got recently named MVP again, getting Chet Holmgren, Jalen Williams late in the lottery, who I don't think a lot of us expected to be this guy that he is now. Now you got those three guys, and then you fill in the pieces of the other guys drafting and stuff like that, then trading, Josh Giddey away for Alex Caruso, and then signing Isaiah Hartenstein to kind of fill in a piece. Now look at them and them believing in young guys. Like I just mentioned, Casey Wallace, AJ Mitchell. And then you trade away a draft pick away to get Jerry McCain, which you probably didn't really need to do, but look at it.
Mm-hmm.
And then you look on the other side of things for Philly and Daryl Morey, he's out of damn job. Not because of that trade, but just kind of like, damn dog, like a lot of things you've done some decent things, and other things you just kind of make you sideways. But just the depth of this team, all that, just they took their lumps and boom, where we at? Same thing with the Spurs. Took their lumps, look where they at. Drafting all that stuff. For the Lakers, Dalton Kennett had showed promise his rookie year, and then after that, nothing. And you need a nice young guy like this in this series to kind of go, if you need scoring, stuff like that, punch for scoring, and the kid barely play in the playoffs.
Right.
Nick Smith, Bronny,
Mm-hmm.
Drew Timmy. Guys that you probably need to get a hard look in the summer, whatever. You gotta trust in these guys. If you guys had success, if you look at these other teams right now, who they draft, how they drafted, how they brought these young guys along, you gotta believe in them. Portland, we'll see. Well, we'll see what happens to them. But Portland, they drafted a lot of young guys that could be on the upswing here. So while I'm getting at, ladies and gentlemen, like the teams at the top took their lumps, developed their young guys. Granted, they're high draft picks, but still, the point still stands. But they fill in the pieces elsewhere. And now we're talking about potential dynasties with the teams, perennial contenders with these teams.
Right.
Throwing the Boston Celtics, they took their lumps, but they got Tatum and Brown. And what the end result was it? A championship a couple years ago.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So, even Cleveland to a degree, drafted Evan Mobley, drafted other little guys and stuff here and there. Now, granted, they traded for some guys, but the end result kind of still the same.
Yeah. I mean, at this point, I guess, we know what the Lakers can be, and it's just the fact that they have that, they're always contending for a championship. That's the goal, right? So, some of these teams that we are talking about, they don't contend for a championship every year. That's the expectation in LA. So, losing a LeBron, who possibly may be gone this year, they got to make sure they replace with another star, which they've already kind of started to work on too. So do they continue to make those type of moves to be able to do those things? Now again, is Giannis gonna be a talk the possible Lakers in the future. This is something that we've seen multiple times from the Lakers is making these extravagant moves, grabbing these players. Is it somebody that they will possibly go look at and go grab or look into because they know their expectation there.
Mm-hmm.
Being swept doesn't feel good. What do they do to change that? What do they do to make the adjustments with that? Um, so again, it's going to be very interesting to see how the Lakers move this all season. But getting swept, wouldn't want to get swept by any team. You know, because I think that this team that we're talking about, OKC, this team could possibly be a back-to-back champ. We haven't seen in a while, or what we haven't seen in a while.
And then seeing and then Detroit starting off bad in the second half here. So we'll see how things go. Donovan Mitchell at the line, by the way. But anyways, for the Lakers, like I said, they got their first round pick this year. They got a lot of changes in the ownership and front office. So, like I said, I think I said this on Instagram or something like that. I commented on somebody's post. The Lakers, they get these guys, they get these role players over the years, like a Devin George, Derek Fisher, even though he left and came back, or got his way traded back. Who else I can think of over the years? Jordan Farmar, Sasha Vujic, talking about draft picks, ladies and gentlemen, draft picks. Those type of guys, they didn't keep them around longer than they should.
Mm-hmm.
Trevor Ariza was a trade, but you should have kept him around. I mean, he's a nice young prospect. You should have kept him around. It's like, and they trying to look for the next star guy, whatever, and stuff like that. But the only chance they really bought him out was those D'Angelo Russell, Brandon Ingram, Julius Randle years, where they really bought him out there.
Mm-hmm.
And then next thing you know, they got LeBron, and things kind of change. And then you trade all those young guys for Anthony Davis. Now, granted, you got a title out of all that, but your depth was gone. Losing a guy like Josh Hart. Now look at him, a key piece, for the New York Knicks.
Yeah,
a guy that, if you put him in the Lakers, would fit like a glove, and a much needed glove. Guy guard multiple positions, can hit the outside shot. A player that you wish Jared Vanderbilt can be. Well, I'll take it back. If Jared Vanderbilt could shoot the ball half-ass, he'll be out there more.
Yeah. I remember when he was in LA, and they had those pieces, and now these guys have grown up and they're playing huge roles somewhere else. Brandon Ingram, Julius Randle, Josh Hart, these guys that were there, young guys, and now they're helping these other teams, playing a huge role in them. So now, and that's the thing about being at those type of franchises in any sport. They draft you and expect for you to play well ASAP, as soon as possible. They don't, they move on from you. Now you can't do that if you have a steady team that is contending every year. So now you can have Josh Hart grow into that guy, Julius Randle grow into that guy. But when you go on that stunt where they're not contending, they're like, hell, we need to find somebody to be competitive with now. And they ship away all these pieces. So, and that's something that, again, front office got to make those type of decisions. That's why I say I think, we're talking about them being swept, but hell, OKC is in a prime position. They got the SGA and got a few pieces around them, and they kind of rolled that out. And now you got your young guy, and all you're doing now is you got a young guy, few guys under him that you're possibly gonna just mold into being uh, the next one whenever he does leave. So that's what we usually see the Lakers, the big teams do. So it's gonna be interesting to see what happens because, like you said, they have they don't waste time with a lot of their players. They give you a couple of years to be ready, to be an all-star, then they move on from you.
And we'll see how things go for the Lakers and what they do. Let me ask you this while we're on the subject of the Lakers. Does LeBron stay or go? Does it stay in LA? Does it go elsewhere?
My thing is, I don't know where else does he go. I mean, where we talked about possibly Miami, we think that's out. Cleveland don't go to the championship. I think maybe that's a possibility. Um, it's hard to see him leave. I think he stays, but if there's one place that he go if he does leave, I think he goes to Cleveland, and that'll be his last year. Um, I don't see where else because now I think if he leaves, he's taking him the Kevin Durant mentality of going where a team is already kind of put together. So to me, um, I can understand going to Cleveland because that's home, and the possibility of, hey, this is my last year. I got drafted here. This is where I'm from. This is it. I kind of can see that. Now, if that happens, I wonder what the hell that starting lineup is going to look like. But I think it's either here. I think it's either Cleveland or LA.
Man,
It's hard to see. It's hard to say.
I don't know. Like you mentioned, if he goes back to Cleveland, then I think it's the last year. If he can find his way back to Cleveland, because like I said, we mentioned earlier in the show, the Cavs are trying to lock up James Harden for the next couple years. And then Tobias Harris is just blowing a fucking layup there. They might get lucky with a goaltending call, but we'll see.
A shooting foul.
Oh yeah, that's all ball by Donovan Mitchell. But anyways, I know he's not going to take a pay cut.
Mm-mm. That's definitely out.
But I was thinking he should take a pay cut, but he won't. The reason I say take a pay cut because you need a couple other pieces if you're going to win the West.
Yes. Agree.
You need a couple pieces to beat the Spurs in the Thunder.
Mm-hmm.
Denver, they're going to be an interesting situation because they got some questions on their roster as well. And I think Josh Kroenke said everybody's on the table except for Jokic at the end of the season presser. So you're going to look at there and see what's going to happen there. I don't know. It's just hard to say because if you can shed some salary, get somebody like a Lou Dort or a Percy Watson from Denver, they'll look great. But then you got your own free agents to worry about. Luke Kennard, Marcus Smart, Rui Hachimura. Austin Reeves. Jackson Hayes.
Mm.
Who once again, at the end of the season, played better than who you had at the starting five from the start of the year. DeAndre Ayton got a player option. I think JJ kind of visualized multiple times over the season that he's not, I don't know, he wants him around next year.
Mm. Yeah.
So
Hard to play that dude.
And then what you gonna do with guys like Dalton Knecht and Jared Vanderbilt? Knecht, if you're able to trade him, you can only get like a second round pick for him if you're trying to dump salary. And like I mentioned earlier, talking about like the teams like the Thunder and whatnot, you flip, like for Josh Giddey, for example, you flip the promising player for a high value role player, and that high value role player helped you win the championship.
Mm-hmm.
It's a win-win for both teams because the Bulls got maybe they guard for the future, and he got a nice contract extension. And Caruso goes to OKC, wins another championship, and comes a key contributor.
Big piece.
But if you're OKC, you got out of that. Well, because also around that time, Josh Giddey had his own legal troubles, but in the end, but you're able to flip that. So if you're the Lakers, it's got to figure things out. And also the main thing, I'm proud that Luka lost weight for the season, but I think you got to figure something out going on with his body.
Yeah.
And I think you got to figure out fast because next couple of years rolling along, you're gonna make Nico Harrison look very good.
Oh yeah.
Everybody on Nico's case and whatnot, but if things don't shape up for him, Nico probably sitting in his house somewhere and say, I told y'all motherfuckers. I told y'all.
Yep. The way he doing, right? He looking right now. Yep.
I may have got the Anthony Davis part wrong, but I told
that
y'all.
part I got. Yep. It's crazy.
But we'll see. I think he sticks around, but he's not gonna take a pay cut. That's the thing.
Nah.
Even though I think he should, if you're gonna guard last year as strong as you can, go to Tom Brady route.
Yeah. That's worked for him multiple years.
Take a cut. Or tell the team, like, hey, do what we got to do to get the best squad possible. And then bring it back on.
Man, Tom Brady has been doing that for so long. Not just in Tampa. He's been doing that in New England so long that he's got those guys that he did have, and he made it work. Obviously, basketball, football, apples and oranges, but I think that could be something that can be done, especially with the Lakers, because hell, damn near everybody want to play for LA for the Lakers. So you can get the good guys, you can get some quality guys over there. It's just that you got to have the money for it. That's the thing. So it definitely can be done. It's just taking that pay cut. saying, "Hey, I'm gonna move on from that much money."
And then also the other guys too. Austin Reeves, can you take a little bit down? Roy Archimari, can you take a little bit down? Luke Kennard, can you take a little bit off down?
Mm-hmm.
If we can do that, can we go after somebody like, all right, say for example, Isaiah Harson gets let go, can we make a run at him? If Percy Rossi don't get kept around in Denver, can we make a run at him? If you swing for the fences, Jalen Duren, make a swing at him.
Mm-hmm.
Be a perfect center for Luka. Could you flip that first round pick you have this year? Maybe go on a cheaper route on the center position. Go after something like Paul Reed. And then use that remaining money and something like that. If you bring back everybody like at the high contracts, go after players like Keon Ellis and other stuff like that. Can you go that route?
Put some depth on that team.
And that's the point, like putting some depth on that team. So like I'm looking at Cleveland right now, Dean Wade and playing great, but then I come in Game 7 against Detroit and Sam Merrill is catching fire, and I'm up 19 points against no more seed in the East.
Yeah.
So a lot of questions for the Lakers. We'll see what happens with them. All that. But any final words in your eyes?
I mean, it's the Lakers. I think they'll definitely figure it out. I'm at a point now where I'm not shocked by anything the Lakers do. They always have a big splash somewhere. Obviously, moving on from Anthony Davis getting Luka was a huge deal, and now you get what you get out of that. So, we got to see what LeBron does. In my opinion, they would want him back, but I think for LeBron, he wants to be contending for a title. And again, maybe he does, like you say, does he consider making that pay cut, or does he say, "Nah, hell no, I ain't doing that"? How does he go about that? So to me, it's going to be very interesting to see how that play out, because he come back to the Lakers. I don't think he's going to come back with the team being where they were this year. They're going to be a hell of a lot more talented. They're going to have to add on to that roster.
So we'll see how things shake out for the Lakers. Like I said, they get swept out of the playoffs, which is, no surprise to us. But can they retool and refocus, get over that hump? We shall see. This has been our show tonight, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for tuning in with us. Right now, the Cavaliers are still up double digits against the Detroit Pistons, so we'll continue to watch this game, see how things shake out for the rest of the series. Whenever this game concludes, Game 1 of the Eastern Conference Finals, I think is on Tuesday, I believe. Let me make sure I got that right. No, yeah, Tuesday, I believe. Or I don't know which network, but we'll see. All right, Amazon, but we'll see. So we'll keep an eye on that. But we'll see how things go, and maybe if Detroit can pull off an upset, we'll see about that. But D-Lock, how can people find you on social media?
You guys find me at Black Dash 813. It's a very interesting game. Definitely we'll be talking about a draft coming up and see who's going to go where. Football season is coming up. I think training camp is coming around, so these rookies are going in. So I'll definitely talk about that, my Bucks as well. Let them know they can find you in the show's page.
You can find the show's page right there at Fast Break at IESR. That's Fast Break at IESR. You follow me at my own personal account, Spawn4288. That's Spawn4288 right there. You follow IE Sports Radio on your show, on X and YouTube. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Hit the little bell notification. Once we go live every Sunday, you get that notice. Hop in, join the chat, give your thoughts and opinions on things, and we'll dive in and talk about it as well. But do follow Ice Sports Radio on X and on YouTube, and also check out icesportsradio.com for your latest news and show times, all that good stuff on the website as well. Until then, ladies and gentlemen, we'll be on conference final week. We'll probably try to squeeze WNBA talk as well, because the season's up and rolling right there for the ladies, and a lot of them got new paydays and stuff like that. So we only had a chance to deep dive with all that talk right there. But we're trying to get squeezed out here in the next couple weeks. But this has been the show tonight. Thank you for tuning in with us. Until next week, be safe out there.